So if you want to just start out with an introduction about yourself and what motivated you to run for House District 87?
Yeah, Tim Goodwin, I'm running for House District 87. For me, it was about getting leadership in Des Moines County. That's been my message all along. When I and my wife went up to Des Moines to entertain the opportunity to run, it was one of the questions that was asked of me when I was sitting in the Speaker of the House's office. And she asked me why I wanted to run. And for me, I've had three career paths right now up to this point, and I have either earned or ascended into leadership positions rather quickly in all three phases. And so I'm not interested in just going up there and voting party lines and just being somebody that checks the R box. I'm up there, or going up there with the intent to earn a position of leadership or be put into a position of leadership. And so when I asked the question, how do you earn a position of leadership? There were two answers that were given to me. One of them was, you have to be well respected within your own party. You have to be respected within the other party, and you have to be able to communicate with a wide range of people, and it'll get back and, hey, this guy's well respected, he needs to be looked at for a position of leadership. And more importantly, it was told that it was my ability to get reelected. And so that kind of made me sit back and think, what? My ability to get reelected? How does that have anything to do with it? But then I started asking more questions, and so after I asked that question and after I was given the answer, I kind of thought about it for a little bit, and I thought, okay, so here we have my opponent who's been here for 30 plus years and is in one of the easiest districts based on the high Democrat numbers to get reelected, and the fact that he's only had opposition 25% of the time. Why has he never really held a position of leadership within his own party? And so that struck me as something odd, and it also I think presents a great opportunity for somebody new and fresh in Des Moines County to walk in, run a good, honest campaign, and provide leadership for people down here. And I think it's needed.
You mentioned the high concentration of Democrats in this district. Registered Democrats obviously outnumber registered Republicans in the district that you're running in. So garnering independent support and even bringing over some Democrats will be important to your campaign. So how have you been reaching out to those types of voters who might be, especially in this very partisan world that we live in now, how do you get those types of people to come over and vote with somebody who has an R next to their name?
Well, I think it starts with who I am as a person. You can say that it's been my message all along, but my message is exactly who I am as a person. I would consider myself a fiscal conservative and a social moderate, and that's how I live my life, and that's how I'll continue to look at issues with that open perspective on things. And so, for me, it's always been, when you're looking at local elections, less about party and more about who the person is. And so, my hope is that people, if they don't know me, they get to know me here in the next 20 days before the election, understand what my message is about. Again, it's about getting leadership in Des Moines County. It's about the fact that I'm highly accessible. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that you can have in a representative. And I've had so many people tell me, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, that they appreciate the fact that I'm out there knocking on doors, that I'm having coffees, that I'm highly visible and highly accessible for people. And they know that that's not just for the election purposes or because I'm running for office. It's because who I am, and my wife and I volunteer in the community and live in the community, and our kids go to public school. And so I think we're in tune with what's going on, not just in society, but what's going on here locally. And I think that's important to have a representative.
So you mentioned the leadership role. I'm sure that people who are up at the State House have told you that, especially with a representative who only has a 2-year term, probably the first year at least is spent learning the process. But once kind of you get over that initial learning curve, what are some of the issues that you think you would like to address first, or at least make your position known up at the Capitol?
Well, I want to make sure that we have both parties are heard behind the scenes, and I'm not sure that that's being done all the time. When you have people in leadership positions, sometimes their own agenda or special interest groups kind of push the agenda, whether it's the Republicans who are in control now or whether it was the Democrats who were in control at one time here a few years ago. And so, I think that my ability to have conversations with people and try to let them look at things maybe a different way and try to keep the partisan conversation out of it and look at really what's best for Iowans and more specifically for Southeast Iowans. I think it's important. But you're right. It's the first year. You hear the word. You kind of get a free pass. You probably don't even know where to park up there when you get up there. But I'm not interested in going up there and looking for a free pass that first year. I want to be able to make a name right off the bat. Obviously, I probably won't be in any leadership position that first year because those are already decided. But I'm really looking to go up there, if I'm elected, to go up there and make a pretty powerful statement for myself to, after year one for the Republican Party to say, hey, this is a guy that's well respected by both parties, and this is a guy that we need to get into leadership. And it's my understanding those leadership positions are out there. But you have to be willing to work for it. And, right now I think we've got, 130 plus legislators who probably aren't really interested in being leaders. They go up there for 3 months and on both sides, and they vote party line, and then they come home and, they're not really engaged in the community. And so, again, that's who I am as a person. I'm not interested in just going up there and checking the box.
What are some of the issues that you've, followed or learned about as you've looked into the state capitol and state politics that you think you would be most interested in looking into if you were elected? Any particular committee you'd like to serve on, or what do you think would be some of your core ideas up there?
Well, with my 15 years experience in education, obviously that's something that I hope to be put on to an education committee, and I think that it would make sense for them to have someone who's got an education background be on an education committee. That's certainly near and dear to my heart, and I think I can provide some valuable input on that. In terms of specific issues and stuff, going to education, IPERS is a big thing right now, and I can never see myself supporting the privatization of IPERS or not offering IPERS to any new member that comes in, as a state employee. I think that IPERS is single-handedly the greatest hiring and retention tool that state workers have, and I just can't imagine ever supporting the privatization. But I know that I believe the Senate last year passed a bill that kind of looked at that, and it really didn't gain any traction, but it's being put out there right now in certain media, and I think it's being passed on by certainly Democrats to maybe instill some fear in some of the voters, like, hey, you need to make sure that your representative, your senator, is looking at this carefully and stuff. And so again, having sat in that seat as a teacher and as an educator, something that I don't see myself ever supporting, and I think that's a very important thing. Obviously, the privatization of Medicare right now is a hot topic. For me, I want to know what the facts are. I think it's really easy to sit back and say that it's not working or it's a disaster, and I'm not sure I would go as far as saying that because I don't have all the facts. First of all, I would say nobody should go without the services that they need. It has to be about service first. Secondly, we need to make sure our providers are being paid on time and getting the funds that they're supposed to be getting. And third, if there is a way to save money after everyone's getting the service that they've met and our providers are getting paid, then to me, that's a bonus. if we're able to save some money. Right now, and it's a year and a half that it's been implemented, we know people are going without services, we know providers aren't getting paid, and the thing that's most troublesome to me, besides not having service, is the fact that nobody can agree upon what that number is in savings. And so until that can be independently verified by Republicans, Democrats, independents, independent auditors, I don't know if it's working in terms of savings or not. There's all kinds of numbers that are being thrown out there. But for a program like Medicaid, to me, savings should be the last thing. We need to make sure that we're taking care of Iowans. And that's something that, I hope to have a voice in and to, really be a champion for getting it corrected. And if we can make sure that people are getting the service and our providers are being paid and we can save $100 million or $200 million, then I think it's a program that can work. But right now we just don't know that. And so when you hear Democratic candidates say the first thing I would do is completely scrap it, I would be cautious of that as well. Too many times in my experience in education, there were some good things that were implemented, and for either lack of funding or maybe the governor switched parties or whatever, things went away, and that was always very frustrating. We need to see it through. But at the end of the day, and I don't know how long of time that is, if that's another year, another 2 years, but at the end of the day, if it's not working, then we need to look at other options. We can't just say, we're going to make it work, we're going to make it work, we're going to make it work. We have to look at what the facts are, and if it's not working, then we need to look at other options.
On the education piece, I'm sure you've heard the local debate about open enrollment and how that's affected the Burlington School District. I don't know if you've given much thought to the conversation around the tax dollars following the student if they decide to go to, say, West Burlington or Danville. Where do you stand on that? Do you think that the tax dollars should stay in the student's home district, or do you think it makes sense for them to follow them if they leave the district?
So open enrollment came in, I think, either in 1989 or 1990. I wasn't a fan of it when it happened, and I don't think it's working the way it was intended to work. I think what the hope was is that you would see students from smaller communities maybe gravitating towards larger districts, and it's actually worked the opposite. But I do think that education is such a personal thing for family, and I think that it's a good thing that they have an option, especially here where they have an option that if things aren't working out for whatever reason, there are options for them to go to other schools. So I believe, you hear Tom Green, Senator Green getting, I don't want to say attacked, but there's a lot of disagreement, I think, with the West Burlington people where Senator Green, if I'm saying this correctly, believes that the tax dollars should stay here in Burlington School District, for example, and not follow the student. Well, I would disagree with that. I think the tax dollars need to follow the student. The property tax dollars of these families are obviously staying here in the Burlington School District. But if you want open enrollment to work the way that it's intended to work, I'm not sure how it would work if these dollars aren't following the student. You're going to have districts turning this down all the time, and you're going to have people that are filing for open enrollment to go to another district, and the district's going to say we can't take them because we don't have the staff to support it and be able to hire because we're not getting those dollars to follow us, and we're not looking at class sizes of 30 and 35 kids, just to say it. I believe West Burlington still has more open enrolled students in than actual resident students. I know they were one of the first school districts in the state of Iowa, and they might still only be the one. So I look at it as, I'm very pro-business, very pro-small business, and I look at education sometimes through a business scope and stuff. Why not have good competition for people, good school districts? Instead of tearing down, a school district, West Burlington, whatever, let's continue to work and continue to make Burlington the best district that they can. I know Superintendent Cohen personally, and I can tell you that he is working around the clock to try to reverse that trend of losing students. Unfortunately, when you have a large district and you have some successful smaller districts in the area, you're naturally just going to lose some kids. And I'm not sure it's a trend that you're going to be able to change, but certainly the intent, I think, is to slow it down a little bit. And so I think, we've got great school districts all around us, Mediapolis, Danville, West Burlington, and Burlington. And if we're going to if we're going to have open enrollment as the law, and it's the law, then having that option out there to educate your child in another school district is not a bad thing. And, the funny thing is, and I want to go back to where, I think Senator Green got attacked, that's some legislation that my opponent, I believe in like 2010 or 2011, supported, that the tax dollars needed to stay in the district. And so, I know some people have tried to, kind of throw it more so on Senator Green than Representative Cahoon, but it's something that they both support, and again, it's something that I disagree with.
Looking at the campaign finance numbers, your campaign here in Burlington is one of the top best funded campaigns in the state among Republicans, especially among non-incumbent Republicans. So as a first-time candidate, how did you make that work? How have you been so successful, and did you have any kind of particular strategy going into it, or what's that process been like for somebody who's never even really had to fundraise before?
Yeah, well, it's something I'm super proud of. I think it shows that individuals here in this district are ready for a change. I'm very proud that 100% of the funds that we've been able to raise are raised by individuals. I've accepted no PAC money. As a matter of fact, I just sent a $1,000 check from a PAC back to that PAC, saying that I don't accept any PAC money for this campaign. And so I think it's important for people to understand that when we have individuals in our district that are not only willing to vote for me, but willing to put some money behind it, I think that speaks volumes. You can look at my opponent's finances, where almost 90% of his funds come from PAC money, and if you look at it even closer, I think the thing that's the most telling is that only one individual in District 87 has contributed to his campaign in the last 4 years, and I believe there's less than 10 individuals who live in this district that have contributed over the last 8 or 9 years, and you can go back and look that up. So I'm excited that we have local people who are willing to, again, put finances behind it. They believe in what I'm doing, and they want some change, and they know that I'm a good, solid candidate, and it's exciting to know that we've been able to do this, and it's not like we're beating the streets begging for it. I mean, people are just ready to get behind a good campaign.